Former NBC CEO and President Bob Wright. He's also the author of The Right Stuff, From NBC to Autism Speaks. Bob Wright, it's always nice to see you. So nice to have you on this program, Bob. Good to see you.
Well, Maria, I'm proud to be here.
I mean, Bob, you and I go back for decades.
Right.
And, of course, one of my first bosses at NBC.
Yeah. Your wedding.
And my wedding and so much together.
Yeah.
Why did you write this book, The Right Stuff?
Well, I was going to write a short book about some observations from business, and I got into it, and I said, you know, a whole bunch of us did a lot with NBC for 22 years, and then all of a sudden, when it got really good, it got sold by GE. So there would be no history. I didn't want to have that history all disappear from 1986 all the way through to 2010. So the words are people that actually worked there and did things, and wonderful people, and it's a way to, you know, for all of us to go back and look about what we did. Not everything was perfect, by the way. There's a lot of disappointments, but there was an awful lot of exciting things, and we built a very, very solid company.
Well, I'll tell you, from my standpoint, it was the glory days when Jack Welch was running General Electric, and you were at NBC. Jack, my mentor, and you were so supportive. So congratulations on what you did, as well as Jack. I want to take you back to something I heard you say a couple of weeks ago, and that was that you were embarrassed by the way people were treating this political moment that we're in and the way they were treating Donald Trump.
Well, I thought for a long period of time it was just total denial on the part. I'm a Republican. On the part of Republicans, I was watching the audiences that he was pulling together, and he's pulling together a lot of independents, a lot of Democrats and Republicans. Plain spoken is something that's not allowed in politics.
Right.
And nobody thinks they can get away with it, and he's doing it, and it's refreshing. It's you know, it's no political correctness, and it touches what people really want to know and hear, and I think he would make a very good president.
And you said, look, people are oblivious to the millions of people he's attracting. Does it bother you that sometimes when we talk about the issues, you're not seeing the kind of substance and specifics when it comes to, for example, what you would do in terms of the $19 trillion debt and what you would do in terms of, you know, taking down ISIS?
Well, you know, the reality of it is this is a democracy, not a republic, in the sense that the president has limited legislative ability. The president can't do a lot of things. Only Congress can do them, and the president can lead Congress. So when you're really looking for a president, you want a leader. You want somebody who can influence Congress and have a good idea where they are. Every one of the candidates, all 17 of them, had big position papers, page after page, 25 pages. Those things don't really make that much difference, you know, to voters, and they don't make that much difference when you get in office, because you get in office, you're going to have to deal with Congress, and I think he's got a clear ability to do with that.
Which is why his tax plan was being talked about back and forth, and he said, look, it's a proposal. Yeah. I'm going to have to deal with Congress.
It's going to have to negotiate.
Exactly. It's a negotiation. So I want to read one excerpt from the book about making Trump executive producer of Miss Universe, because you had real experience dealing with Donald Trump, and you write...
30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. And you write, as head of NBC, I got into business with him as half owner of the Miss Universe pageant, and eventually The Apprentice, which suited him perfectly. I made him executive producer of Miss Universe because he was complaining about the judges and production. You go on to say he knew how to make it work for television. I remember Trump telling me, you know me, the two things that I really love in life are women and food. He brought order to all of the shows he was part of. As ratings for The Apprentice rose, so did Trump's fees. The great negotiator claims to have made more than $213 million from 14 seasons of The Apprentice and related branded products, many of which bore his likeness. So it was a success from your standpoint.
Oh, he turned around. We owned half of it, and he wanted to have a more active role. And I said, well, why don't you run it? And he said, can you really? I said, you go ahead and run it. I mean, I had complete faith that he would do better than our team. We had a whole group of people. We had judges interviewing people. It was kind of like a cross between Miss America and something else. The very first year that he took over, the ratings were up. I think they were up 25 or 30%.
Wow. Good performance. What's your take on the way things have changed in terms of streaming and digital. I mean, you look at what you were able to build at NBC, and it's a completely different story today because of Netflix, Amazon, original content.
Well, my world was cable and satellite as the other alternatives, and also working on the broadcast of the network and the cable channels that we created or bought into. But this is exciting because it's really on demand for people. They can get a chance to see exactly what it is they want to see when they want to see it. And I think that also bodes very well for live television, because live television now has a real differential. And people that are going to watch, sit down and watch 6 episodes of Netflix are probably going to also want to see some live television to make sure they're still alive.
Yeah, right.
So I think there's a great opportunity. That's why shows like yours and things that are really in front of people and people trying to make some sense out of them in a limited amount of time are so important.
Well, it's interesting because when I first left CNBC, and I was there, of course, for 20 years, people thought, well, what are you doing? And in the last 2 years, we've had tremendous success here at the Fox Business Network. And, when you look at the ratings and when you look at the growth and where we are, there was a moment in time in the 90s when people were looking at every tick, but today, it's just not all about the stock market. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're beating CNBC in the morning at many hours, 8 a.m. hour regularly.
You have a lot of material here on here. I just saw Dagan, and I remember her for many, many years. People like that just have they're quirky in the sense that they carry a lot of material in their head, and they can make a call on all kinds of different things. And I think that your show is doing a very good job with that.
And of course, Roger Ailes was at NBC. You worked with him, and then he came here, started Fox News Channel, ratings off the chart, and now doing it again with the Business Network. Well,
Roger left when we formed MSNBC out of America's Talking, which is the channel that he was developing, and that went to Andy Lack, and he was very upset about that, and so going over here to create Fox was sort of a natural ending of that. He's done a great job.
It really was. Okay, so do you see even bigger changes for the overall industry looking 5 years out?
I think that there is really a great place for live television and news, information, sports, and there is just going to be a tremendous amount of individual viewing, whether it's streaming or whether it's just on demand for all kinds of other things. That's the world we're going to be living in for the next number of years.
Before you go, I want to congratulate you on what you and Suzanne, your wife, have been able to do with Autism Speaks, Bob.
Thank you.
You moved the needle. You made the awareness front and center. I know Suzanne has spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
Please send our best to Suzanne.
I will. Thank you very much. You'll appreciate that.
Suzanne Wright, Bob Wright, good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bob Wright there. Coming